Well, my sweet creative cutie, I am sitting here with a very important person to me and a very important person to you. You may not know, or you may know, but her name is Rache Fulton. She has been the producer of Unleash Your Inner Creative for the past 3 years, my mentee and also a dear friend, and I would say family at this point. And we are having this conversation because Rache is graduating from Michigan State. She just got a job at WILX as an on-air reporter, and she's just doing amazing things. You may have also seen that at 21, she's a 3-time Emmy-nominated journalist, amongst many other accolades. And most importantly, she's just a beautiful person. And so since she's nearing the end of her journey on Unleash Your Inner Creative, much to my dismay, also my joy, because it's so beautiful to see somebody that you've loved and worked with get to spread their wings and fly. We wanted to have Rache on the show for this episode to talk about her journey on Unleash, talk about her journey as a creative, her takeaways, my takeaways, and her hopes and dreams for the future. So Rache, welcome to Unleash.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to be on the other side of it. You know, I'm only used to it with my own podcast, The State Through the Impact, and to be back on for the second time is awesome. And I'm just excited to be able to sit down and have a great conversation with you.
Well, this is actually your third time. I think that the first episode somehow disappeared itself because
we
remember?
Did do a 3. Yes.
Spotify at this time had memberships or like subscriptions. And so I tried to make that one subscription only, but somehow it like ate itself in being subscription only.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is your third time on the pod.
Third time's a charm. I love it.
Third time, we're totally charming.
Yeah.
So Rache, like let's start at the beginning. For those that don't know, like what has been your creative journey? Yeah, take me through a little bit of that. What has been your story up until now?
Yeah, so my story has just been all over the place, but ultimately it started with me going to Michigan State University with the goal to be a part of radio. I had a lengthy background in high school of being a part of my radio station. I was blessed to be able to go to a high school that had a full FM running station, which there's only like 3 or 4 in the state of Michigan that may have been quite a few years. But to be able to have that, I got to learn how to DJ, I got to learn how to do remote broadcasting and just everything that comes with being part of a radio station. And so I fell in love with it, went to Michigan State University because the journalism program is just outstanding here. And I knew about the impact through the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, which I had been a part of since high school.
And if you don't know, you listening, the Impact is Michigan State's student-run radio station. I was a part of it when I was there at Michigan State. It's ultimately how Rache and I got to know each other. But just to give you that little tidbit. So you started working at the Impact.
Yes, and I started with being the news producer for our daily news podcast, The State, which is an everyday podcast. It's not too long. It's about 4 to 5 minutes every day, but I cover everything that The State News basically reports on. And so it's our combined podcast between the two journalism entities on campus. And just got really involved with the podcasting industry that we have at the radio station and ended up being it started off as our podcast coordinator. And then they said, actually, you're doing a lot more than just coordinating podcasts. So we're going to make you a director. So I have upheld the podcast director role since 2022. So it was early in February, I believe, of that year. So I've been able to manage and control all the podcasts that Impact has, and now we have over 30 plus podcasts a part of our radio station, ranging from sports, news, entertainment. You know, we do student life with athletics and things like that. So it's just been a really big honor to be able to have that as a resume and an experience through college. And then the tables turned a little bit. You know, I went on to meet Lauren, and I was involved with her through the Impact. Lauren was an MSU alumni and an Impact alumni. And Jeremy, who's our general manager at the radio station, he had seen that she was posting for a new producer, and we sat down and just really connected. You know, that's one thing that Lauren and I have always talked about is the spark that we got right from the first day that we got onto a Zoom. And it's just been a journey from there. You know, I've learned a lot from you as far as podcasting, but also just on being a better person and being a light in the
Rach.
world. Yeah, and I know we're going to talk more about my actual, journey with Unleash in a little bit, but I just thought I'd mention that. It hasn't just been about the podcasting industry and the entertainment industry. It's just about being more self-authentic and loving myself more. And I think that's really, really important as a college student and being at the age that I am, because you really need that. So we did our whole thing. We've been in it for a while together. And then through the journalism program that you take, they don't necessarily teach you a lot on podcasting and radio. It's just something that, people see as a dying art, we can fight for. I'm always going to fight for that. It's not a dying art at all. But they teach you more on the TV side and the visual side of it. We know it's the prime time for that right now, so it makes sense. I never really saw myself in TV at all. When I went to college, my mom always told me, she's like, you shouldn't be on the radio, you should be on TV. And I was like, no, that's not my mamma jamma. Like, I'm trying to not look perfect every day and have this view of myself. So it never was something that hit me. And then I joined this past fall in 2024, the Focal Point class, which is the capstone class for all journalism majors at the university. And so you either can be a producer or you can be a reporter. I decided to be a reporter. I like to tell stories more, and I like to meet people, communicate with people, and, share their stories. So I just really excelled in this last year. I was learning how to take a story from this way to that way. I was doing hard news. I was doing feature stories. My teachers are also really great on not just telling a story, but also really getting to the nitty-gritty of a story. I think that's important. You have to have a good character. You have to have a good writing structure for how the story is portrayed. And to be able to learn how to do that, I think has helped me, win the awards that I have in the past, year or so with it. So, like I said, hard news, feature stories, I've just, done it all. And I just fell in love with it. And I fell in love with also being on camera. I was able to anchor a few shows. I've done like a few weather reports and things like that.
The weather's so fun, isn't it?
The weather is fun. It's an interesting thing. You definitely have to have that spunk for it. But yeah, I just fell in love with all of that, the whole production side too of it. So I knew that this was something that I was kind of looking at into the future. It was something that interests me after I took the class in the fall. So during my winter break, I started reaching out to a few TV stations around the area, just seeing if hey, maybe I could do a shadow day just to see if this is something I'm really interested in. I'll be looking for jobs in the future in a few months. And I got a few responses back, was able to shadow WLNS, that's another Lansing station. And then WILX had reached out to me after I had texted them just saying, hey, I'm looking to get involved, just kind of shadow and stuff for now. The semester had started. I had already done my shadow at 6, and I was offered a MMJ position, which is a multimedia journalist, which means you just go out, shoot, edit, and upload your own stories for the newscast. And they had offered me that the day I shadowed. They had seen my resume, and, they said, we would love for you to join our morning crew. And I said, oh, that would be awesome. I'm looking at a few other places, but, we can definitely start talking about going through with that. And then WILX had reached out to me, and they said, not only do we have a MMJ position opening, but we have a weekend morning anchor position as well on top of that. And what people don't realize is it's really rare to get an on-camera position right out of college. You typically start off as an MMJ. So to be able to see that they not only wanted me to share my stories and show them what I've got when it comes to my editing skills and all that, they wanted me to be one of the faces of this TV station. And that was so exciting for me. And I wanted to stay local. I love Lansing. I have truly fallen in love with it. I have a boyfriend who's from here. His family's here. So it's just really great to be able to start somewhere local. And, I went through with it, and I am now the weekend morning anchor and reporter for WILX. So it's been a journey.
I know, it's making me tear up as you're talking, because I'm so proud of you, first of all. You are just such a joy, and you always show up, and you always show up with 110%. And I'm also so happy for you that you got to do what you wanted from the beginning. As somebody who oftentimes in my career has had to take a long way around and kind of get in through a back door instead of busting through the front door like I wanted to, I'm so thrilled for you that they saw you and they saw your talent, and then you didn't have to like fight to get through, that you were able to, just by being who you are and showing them your resume and showing them you're real, get in the door doing the thing you want right away. That takes such a pain point out of your career journey. And I'm just so excited that you're getting to do that first thing. Like, how does that feel to you? Do you get the impact of that?
Yeah, I do. And I really didn't in the beginning.
Like, you've been doing the work all throughout your college career, like between producing my podcast, producing 30 podcasts at the Impact, like,
Yeah.
working behind the scenes. Yes, you had forward facing things too, but you have been working and like putting in your time while being a college student. And I think that's why it's paying off now. Does it happen for everyone that does what you did? No, there's a lot of luck involved in this business. Like, not all of it is just pure talent. But I am so happy that preparation met talent, met luck for you to have this opportunity, because I think the world would be a much better place if everybody was able to do what was truly on their heart instead of like some sideways version of it.
Yeah, and I've always said I've always been a hustler. I've always been doing multiple things at one time. And I feel like if I don't feel accomplished. Like, I always have to be so busy. And it's, maybe that's not the best and healthy way to live. But for me, I just know it's got a lot more done and it's got me in the right direction. And I think that's what has really helped me with getting this position, and going forward, it's definitely going to be a goal to keep that hustler style life going a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think that that's something that you just like age out of, So I don't see that being a thing for you. But like, how is it hitting you? The fact that you, first of all, you had a job. When did you get this job? Like 2 months ago?
Yeah, it was the beginning of January.
Okay. I mean, I'm not surprised because that's just who you are. But like, most people don't even start to like figure themselves out until like March, April, May, June, into the summer. How does it feel that you are actually going to be doing exactly what you want to do, like the minute you graduate?
It's really, really exciting. So I know for a lot of different graduates, it is very scary to think about what you're going to do after graduation. And I was in that same boat, during my winter break. I was like, I have no idea what realm I'm going to go. With the Impact, I was talking to our general manager and I was like, should I just start off doing an internship at, an Odyssey station, just trying to keep doing podcasting? Or should I try to actually reach out to TV stations and maybe they'll see that I'm okay with what I do? All my professors were telling me, you typically start reaching out around March, April. And I've always been that person that's like, yeah, but like, I want to make sure everything's lined up. And I'm just, like I said, I've always been doing stuff at one time if it's, just go with me. So to be able to line something up and just know the path that's, everything's kind of smooth sailing, it's been very humbling as well. It's really cool to see how I've just transitioned with it all as well. It's been hard, doing school. And plus I have started at WILX doing part-time stuff for now. And then plus, continuing my stuff with the Impact and trying to finish and finalize everything that I need to with my jobs there. But I feel really blessed to be able to have this because, like you said, not a lot of people have this luck in the industry, and to be able to have a station that sees who I am and is excited to bring me on board, it's very great.
Yeah. And so talk to me a little bit about reinventing yourself, because you were really gung-ho on like, I'm going to work in radio and podcasting up until like the last couple months, really. What was it like to let go of that one vision of your life to go toward this other vision? And how did you know it was the right thing? Because for people listening, there's a lot of people listening who at some point either will want to or have to reinvent themselves. So I think it's important to share this.
It first hurt, I'll tell you that, because I had been doing radio for a long time. I had been doing podcasting since I was a senior in high school. And that was during COVID, which was a very prominent point in everyone's lives that still carries some hurt and some sort of compassion inside somewhere. So it was like leaving an era, and it was really, really sad. But I had great teachers that told me you can intertwine anything that you do. And I think that's one thing that I've learned with this podcast is being a multi-creative person, is that I'm leaving the podcasting industry and the radio industry in a way, but if I ever want to pick it back up, or if I ever want to do it, during my time in TV, there's always an opportunity for that. You can never just leave it. So that was the biggest push. I think it was like, I'm maybe leaving the main focus, but I'm not leaving it overall. Like there's always a way to come back to it.
Yeah. So for someone listening, if they're kind of leaving the thing they thought they were going to do the most to go towards something else, reminding themselves that it doesn't have to be out of their life forever. It's just taking a different place right now. You can either keep doing it while you do the other thing or put it on ice and come back to it whenever the time feels right. Like podcasting isn't going away. Whatever you listening, your creative passion isn't going to go away. So, even as you're going toward your new thing, always keep it in mind and think how it can be part of your life. Hey, creative cutie, I wanted to remind you of something. I am a creative coach. And if you're interested in unleashing your creativity, sharing your creative project with the world, and or finally going after your biggest dreams, I would love to help you, to hold up a mirror for you, to support you, and to be your co-creator and your coach. You can email me at lauren.lagrasso@gmail.com to set up a free discovery call, or go to my website, laurenlagrasso.com, and click the contact page and write me an email on there. I can't wait to help you unleash your inner creative and find your authentic voice. Creativity is your birthright. Let's unleash. I'm curious from your perspective because, I've done some on-camera hosting. I've never been like a straight up journalist. At first, I was going to be a journalism major, but then I got into Journ 200, which is like, for you listening, the second level journalism class after I think it was Journalism 108, and then it goes to Journ 200.
Oh my gosh, you have such a great memory. Insane.
I love Journalism
that.
108. It was great. I had this incredible woman named Bonnie. I can't remember her last name, but her first name was Bonnie, and she was like a badass. She had the funniest advice. She said, marry young, marry often. And I thought that was amazing. And after that, I was like, maybe I will. But yeah, I'm marrying late and hopefully once.
Congratulations, too. Everybody give a big congratulations, whoop whoop, for the cute couple.
Oh, thanks, Lovey. Yeah, Rachel will be at the wedding, so we'll definitely take some pictures together and post them on Unleash. Yeah, so anyway, I got into Journalism 200 and I was like, this isn't for me. Because the class was, if you got one word misspelled or one grammar error, your whole grade would go down by 0.5%. And I'm like, if that feels like too much for me for this class, I'm sure that the fields would not be something I want to do. If I don't want to make it through this class, how am I going to make it through the field? Which is why I switched to communication with an emphasis in media. But tell me, what is the difference between podcasting and TV? And why does TV feel like the medium you want to be in right now?
Well, I'm first going to kind of comment on what you had said, because that's sad that they would grade you like that, because that's not at all what it's like.
Really?
Yeah, and I took that class as well, and, they're hard on you, but I had a great teacher who wanted you to learn, so she wasn't grading on you if you had, a misspell here, or, you messed up an AP style there. She wanted you to learn, so she was going to tell you, or she had review sessions before you would turn in your final product.
Right.
That's how it is, in the real world. We have editors. We have people who overlook what you produce, and then they'll actually submit it for you just to make sure, it is up to the quality, because everybody's in so many different things. And when you're a journalist, you're doing multiple things. People don't always realize, oh, they just go on camera and look pretty. No, you've got a lot more than that. You have to learn how to shoot and edit, video editing, write up your stories, write up any content. We do web articles as well. So there's a lot of packaging that goes along with it. So there's editors, there's people who overlook those final touches on things. So
it's unfortunate, because I actually think I would have been a great broadcast journalist.
I think you would have been amazing.
I also think it was meant to be the other way. It all worked out the way it's supposed to. But yeah, I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to subject myself to being terrified that I put a comma in the wrong place.
No, not at all. That's just I think
but
that's
that was
dumb.
a class at the time they used to weed people out, and it worked like a charm.
Oh, yeah, I bet. And a lot of majors do that. You've got those lower level classes that they want to see, are you actually really serious about this? And
totally.
I just think it's not the way to go. You want to see if people have a heart for, especially if you haven't even taken a visual class or anything like that. And you're just like, nope, I took this one writing class. I hate journalism. Not at all. I think that's such a bad way to interpret it. So I'm sorry you had to go through with that. I think you would have been amazing,
Aw,
but
thanks, love.
you have been doing amazing stuff after that. So
Yeah. So for you, what is the difference in feeling? What is the difference in communicating something on a podcast versus communicating something on broadcast journalism, TV journalism?
So I've noticed it's a lot of the topics and the styles of what you're reporting on. With my experience in podcasting, not only have I had news, but I've also had entertainment. So I'm able to see, the different ways that you can put it out. With my podcast personally at The Impact 89 FM, it's a news podcast, but it is low key a little bit more where I can pick my stories. That happens in, typical TV news, but the way that I'm interpreting it is a little bit more chill than I would on TV. You have a lot more breaking news, you have a lot more hard-hitting things that people want to know right now what's going on and the specifics of it, but you also have to learn how to keep it short and concise and present it to an audience in a way that they're not experts on it. And sometimes you don't always have a lot of time with that. With podcasting, I think you have a lot more openness. You can kind of control the time and the management of it. And with news, a lot of it is just really fast paced. So those are the main differences that I've seen. It would be interesting to see how on the other side, as someone who isn't in the industry and they're viewing TV, and then they go to a podcast such as my news podcast and is like, oh, I wonder if they would see the same thing as it being more chill and relaxed.
Well, I definitely feel that because part of why, I was in live radio for 2.5 years, and part of why I'm loved being and have loved being in podcasts is because that piece of the live fast pace is so stressful. The times when I was I can't do this anymore was when a shooting would happen. And instead of being that's so sad and actually feeling and being present with the sadness, my thought would be, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. How am I going to produce this? How am I going to get in touch with somebody who was there when the shooting happened? It didn't feel good to me anymore. And the stress of it, always doing things last minute, always producing stories last minute. It was exciting and it was impactful because we were getting to speak on real world events as they happened. And it was so stressful that going into the flow of a podcast and being able to rely on the schedule a little bit more, it felt good to me. But it will be interesting to see how you feel as time goes on and if you maybe like that. Some people thrive on that.
I think it's something that I will get a hang of and I will enjoy a little bit. But at the same time, like you mentioned, a shooting and things. And unfortunately, we've had the experience of that the past couple of years at Michigan State University. We had a shooting happen in 2023, and I was a journalist, and we had a lot of media that wanted us to go out and report it. And I couldn't. I had to step back, especially as a student still, and reflect on what happened. I was up that night. We are literally 5 minutes, not even 2 minutes actually from our campus. And to be able to hear a police scanner literally talking just 2 miles down the road about what's happening to these students is just, it's so scary and it's so sad, and it's a humbling experience, and it's blessing to think that we didn't have to be on campus and involved in that way. But to see the outcome of what the campus has done in the past couple of years is quite something that's beautiful. And, just kind of touching on my experience as a journalist with reporting on something like that. Like I said, the first year, it wasn't something that I wanted to. I didn't feel I could. The year that came around, the first year of the memorial, it still kind of hit home. We have these core spots on campus, our Sparty statue, our rock where people paint this big rock, whatever it is, but to see them bringing, flowers and dedicating these spots that we see as community places to something that tragically happened, it's something that's shocking in a community that you just see a lot of positivity in. And then this year rolled around. It was a 2-year memorial, and we wanted to do something with it with the focal point class. And I was reflecting that, I haven't done anything with it. And I felt that I was healed enough and I could go out on the day of, still giving respect to those who wanted the privacy to come out and remember what happened. But I wanted to create something that would touch people in a way. And it wasn't just about what happened, but how people were coming out on that day. So I was out all day on February 13th of this year getting content. I went to all the, community spots, our Sparty statue, the Rock. Later at night, we had a bell tower memorial where they were playing the bells on our Beaumont Tower on campus and a candlelight visual. So I was out from dusk to dawn that day, and I came up with a package. I worked all night on it for our show, which was the next day on a Friday. And it was our best package of our entire show. We got so many comments on it, and it's the one that won me an Emmy for the spring. So,
wow.
Yeah, it just really shows you that sometimes you do need to step back and kind of reflect on what's happening and then go back into it when you feel in your heart and in your body that it's the right time.
And that's such a great message for a creative listening to, because we're all storytellers in some way. Sometimes when you're too close to a story and the pain is still too raw, you just really can't share. Like, it's too overwhelming to even begin to try to figure out how to tell the story of what happened to you or to somebody that you love or to a community that you love and cherish. Sometimes distance is needed. And I know I can sometimes beat myself up like, oh gosh, I should be ready to talk about this thing. I should be ready. I should be able to say what happened. But sometimes that distance is what creates the perspective to be able to actually clearly share what happened and go to the emotional places you need to go in order to tell the story effectively. And that's such a great example.
Exactly. And I think as a student too, learning that, because a lot of people, in other universities, they don't always get the experience of having a lot of different news in this way. I'm not saying like a shooting or something tragic that happens, but I'm saying just the difference of having a feature versus a hard news. I've been really blessed to have that. I was out doing election coverage too on that week of, back in November, and was able to have another winning package on a rally that occurred on students coming out and expressing what they believe was right after the election.
It was called the Anti-Fascism Rally, right?
It was,
Yeah.
yes. It was just really interesting because I had never seen anything like this. Sometimes people don't get that experience, but to be able to have an opportunity to go out and not only see how these people were reacting, but to be able to show it with the skills that I have, I think that was really important.
Yeah. Well, so badass, Rachel. You're amazing.
Thanks.
Okay, I want to get into like what you've learned or like any reflections on our time together. Like, what are some of the things that you're going to take away and that you've learned over the past almost 3 years?
Well, I will say the first thing I've done a few speeches at schools and a few conferences in the past couple years. And I always say, if you can find a mentee-mentor relationship, that is the key to a job.
Aww.
And Lauren has taught me that, at the Impact, I built a mentor-mentee relationship with my manager and the people that surrounded me there. But to be able to work one-on-one in the way that we have, that has just impacted a lot of what I've learned. Having someone who not only wants you to do the job that's at hand, but wants you to actually succeed and teach you things going forward and not just teach you in the actual job, but being a better person. I think that's really, really important. Learning the behind the scenes of it, seeing the emails that come in from the person that we have on the podcast, and then also your thoughts on it, Lauren. I think that's really cool to see all the different perspectives when it comes to the producing side of the podcast, which has helped me learn even more. It's important to see the different perspectives that we get in and all the different things that we get pitched to us. So I think the producing side, the behind the scenes of that is something that has helped me. Like I mentioned too, being a better person is something that you really have pushed on me. When we meet, Lauren always asks me, the first question I've noticed is, how are you today? How are you doing, Rachel? And that goes back to the mentor-mentee relationship of just checking in with the people that surround you. Yes, we're a working relationship, but we also have where we're open towards each other. We're talking about our families, we're talking about our personal life. And to be able to set work aside sometimes and focus on that is always going to be great. And communication is always the number one key, I say, too, to having a great relationship and success at a job. With us talking right now, people may think it's all sunshine and rainbows with Rachel and Lauren, but you know what? Sometimes it's not. We've had our differences, but we always communicate them in a professional and appropriate way. You know,
Yeah.
we've had tech issues and we have to go around them and we just have to work together. So it's working with your peers that surround you in your work industry and your environment.
Yeah.
That's something that I've learned.
That's one of the things I had on my list of what I learned from working with you. One of the biggest things for me, you taught me how to be a leader. Like I had a couple producers before you, but like working with you really taught me who I want to be as a leader and how I want to do things differently from people who've led me in the past and how to like wrap my leadership around the specific individual who I'm working with. So like, for instance, you are a leader too. And just because like I'm in the quote unquote boss position doesn't mean I shouldn't let you lead in the things that you're genuinely better than me at.
Well, can I just pitch in here a little bit too?
Pitch right in, honey buns.
You know what? I have never seen you as just like the big boss in the situation. It's always been somewhat of an equal playing field. Like it's the fact that I have been able to kind of put my ideas into it and have you see where my ideas are coming from and accept the ideas and work around them. You know, when I write your raps, you're working around the ideas that I have already templated for you. And, you know, when it comes to me getting all the episodes ready, making our folders and things for all of our interviewees, that's a leadership role. You're taking an initiative to start the project. So I've never seen it as just like this higher boss, like I don't feel comfortable to talk to her. No, not at all.
I think a lot of times a very weird thing can happen in a producer-host relationship where, and I don't know why this happens, but I've seen it happen a million times, the producer can kind of have to take on what I call servant energy, where it's like you're wrapping your whole life around the host versus coming at it as two equals. Like, yes, maybe I have a different set of skills or more knowledge because I've been in the industry longer, but that doesn't mean that you are not my intellectual and creative equal. That's what I mean. Like, just because I'm the boss doesn't mean you can't lead too and I can't learn from you. So one thing I discovered decently early on is Rachel is just way more organized than I am. And I'm like, why would I try to like implement my organizational style when she is the one that clearly has a natural skill set for that? So letting you do that. And then with the writing of the raps, like it took us a while to get to the point where you were able to write in my voice. But after that, it just felt so good to let you fully own that and not interject and like take on your ideas and like ask you, hey, what do you think? I'm thinking about this for this person that's coming on. Do you think that this is the right approach to take with them? Really co-creating. Like for anyone listening who has the blessing of being in a leadership role, make sure that every time you meet with your person, you see them, everything they have to offer, see them and see their talent, listen to their voice, and let it be a co-creation relationship. You're going to get so much more out of it. And allow them to lead you in the places where maybe you have less skill than they do. Like, it's not a slight on you if somebody that you're working with, that you're hiring, has a greater skill set than you. It actually makes you stronger if you can see it, acknowledge it, and then empower it.
Yeah, no, exactly. You never want to overlook them and think, oh, they can just do the little work. They're always going to be able to contribute something completely out of the box that sometimes you won't be able to see in the beginning. And it just took being able to be comfortable with Lauren. You know, in the beginning, yes, it felt like, oh my gosh, this is my first job in the actual industry. She's in California, I'm in Michigan. Like, this is the big deal. I have to revolve everything around it. But to learn who Lauren was, and that was not the way that she wanted this to go. And I learned that very early, a few months in. That was just something that once it got in my head, it was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a way more chill and relaxed and more caring and supportive environment.
Yeah. And with that said, like you always did everything you were supposed to do. You never once failed me. I wish more people could understand that. Like you can lead with love and honesty. You can be kind and have high expectations. And I think that that's exactly what our working relationship has been. And when I realized like I'm more used to working under the gun, but Rachel really needs to do things way ahead of time to feel good. Like look at your job situation. Like
Yep.
you like got a job in January when most people don't start thinking about it until March or April. So once I realized that, I'm like, okay, in order for her to succeed, I need to get her audio and stuff faster so that like the show can succeed. So I think so often people are like, well, this is what I do, and you have to wrap everything around this. But taking a look at the person that you've hired and like trusting yourself that you hired the right person, and then figuring out a co-creation schedule that actually works for both of you. Yeah, like just a working relationship that works for both people. I think too often like leaders are like, well, it's all about me and revolve around me, and don't think about the person that they're working with at all. And it really has to be a constant energy flow, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. And also with me being a student, things have come up in our working schedule that have intertwined. And sometimes it always hasn't, maybe an episode is inconvenient at the time or something. But to be able to communicate that, like I said, communication is key. You always have to tell the person what's going on. And there's always ways to get around it. For example, my computer last semester completely crashed on me, and I lost an entire edit of an episode that we had. I was so upset because the episode was due the next day with Lauren. That was going to make it convenient for her to upload it for our normal Wednesday schedule.
Just so people listening, we always like the episode is always due to me the Monday before it airs. It always airs at Wednesday at 1:11 a.m. Pacific time. And Rachel like has without fail always gotten me the episode. And so her computer crashed on a Sunday. She called me panicked while I was like on a hike near the Hollywood sign.
I didn't even realize you were on a hike near the Hollywood sign.
I was on a hike.
That's
I was like,
insane.
oh God.
Well, I was freaking out because I have a full day of classes the next day, and I was like, how am I going to get this done, And I had finished it on a Sunday. Everything was great. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And I thought, oh, maybe we'll just re-air an episode. Maybe that's what she'll say. And Lauren, no, you wanted to have the episode still. And she pushed me to get it done, but it wasn't like a bossy way saying, Rachel, like this has to get done. It was more, hey, so we have a deadline for this, and we have someone who's expecting this to come out, and we need to work around the issue. If you're in a professional world, they're not going to say we can just re-air an episode. It was, you have to get this done for the Wednesday show. So yes, it took me an inconvenience time to get it done, but to have that challenge, I mean, come on, that was something crazy and kind of showed me a different side of myself. So honestly, thank you for that.
Aw. Well, I'm happy you see it that way, because I know that in that moment you were really hoping I would just be like, yeah, no problem. Let me give you the easy out. But the reason why I didn't was, we did have a deadline. And in my experience as a producer, if I say I'm going to get something done, I get it done no matter what I have to do. If I have to borrow a computer, if I have to go to the public library, like if I have to stay up all night, like if I've committed to something, unless there's something going on with family, which we've both had times when family stuff is going on, or like relationships, whatever it is, where we have to make amendments. But if it's just a matter of a tech error, I wanted you to get the lesson that you can think creatively in how you do something too. Like you did have access to a computer through your boyfriend or through the impact, and I knew you could get it done. But I thought it was an important lesson because I've been in that situation many times. I've lost a couple episodes over the course of my career, and figuring out how to still make it work, even though it's not the greatest position, was important. I appreciate that you took the challenge, and the episode turned out great, honestly. What episode was it? I don't even remember, but I remember it was great.
It was in October. I'm trying to think. I don't remember on the
It's
spot.
fine.
If I went back, I don't know. Anybody listened to one of our episodes in October and
just listen to all of them. That was a great experience because I think we were both honest with each other and kind. And even though there was frustration probably on both ends, like we worked through it. And then the other time that comes to mind is when, I think this was over the summer, but like long story short, like my budget for Unleash got completely truncated, and we had to switch the production schedule. And we were like kind of trying to figure out some different ways to do it. I'm like, okay, like if we go down to 2 episodes, I pay you the same amount for those 2 episodes. And then the solo episodes, I can like do creative coaching for you, and like we'll do it as a trade. And, like Rachel kind of mentioned something to me, but like I could tell the situation wasn't completely working for you. So first of all, I want to point out, like, be honest with your employees and your, mentor, mentees, and they will be honest with you, because then you brought up something back to me. you made some comment that made me realize like, oh, this doesn't quite work for her. And I'm like, hey, we need to talk about this. I'm like, this needs to be mutually beneficial. And if it's not, we need to take a different approach. So we figured out like a payment method for the mini-sodes that worked for you and worked for me. And we were able to move on. And then like I ended up doing a lot of them too. So like we just found a way to make it work. But I think that the point is like people get upset in working environments, whether it's like the person hiring or the person, you know, the employee, because people aren't honest with them and because they like expect something out of them that isn't an equal energy exchange. And so one thing I think we both did so well throughout our working relationship is like show up with honesty, integrity, kindness, and love every single time, even in the hardest of situations.
Yeah, like I have to love what I'm doing. And I do love what I'm doing, especially with all the great work that we've done, not just together, but what we're producing to the world. I mean, we have made such a difference with this podcast. The amount of people who have listened to it and have told me, oh my gosh, like I didn't realize I needed this in my life is crazy. And to be able to say that I'm part of that is just something so, so incredible. And I would have never thought I would have an opportunity like this. And I've never said it's just about money or anything like that. But at the same time, you know, you do have to stand up for yourself and tell someone, you know, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to open that up and have that space to talk about it.
Yeah. It just feels so much better when you can both be honest with each other, even when it's hard, because
Yeah.
I've definitely been in a situation where I felt like I couldn't say anything and it feels like something stuck in your throat.
Yeah.
And I'd say like the other things I learned is like trust people and let them flow. Like, you know what you're doing. Like, I don't need to be micromanaging your efforts. Again, when you are working with the right person, you don't need to like be hovering over them and double checking every single little thing. Give people what they need to succeed. I think that goes into seeing who somebody is and then wrapping your leadership around them versus like just being rigid and like being like, this is the only way things work. And then letting people fly. Like, there were a couple times this year, like there was one time earlier this year where you thought you might have to leave the show. And like, as devastating as that was, I totally understood and kind of made preparations. Thankfully for me, you didn't end up needing to leave. But, you know, now that you're going, it's scary. I'm totally in denial about it. But it's also so beautiful that like you're taking what you've learned here and getting to do something that you truly love and embrace the next step of who you are and go toward your dreams, and that you're like doing it on the heels of getting nominated for 3 Emmy Awards and that the show just got nominated for another Webby. Like everything is happening for you. And for me, like I want you to go as far as you can possibly go. If you want to, you may, I know you love Michigan, you may want to just stay there, but like I want you to be on Good Morning America, to be hosting the Today Show. And then I told you joking, but kind of not. Like after that, let's go to the moon. Like I see you going as far as you can possibly go and spreading your wings, and like you shine, I shine. The further you go, the happier I'll be. I'm just so proud of you and like so grateful for your heart and your care and your friendship. And it's been a complete joy working with you and just knowing that you have my back completely. Like you always have fought for me and for the show and been so proud of the show, and like you've put it at the forefront of what you do. And yeah, losing you is a huge loss, but I am so excited for you. Yeah, I just can't wait. I really think the sky is the limit for you and you're going to do big, beautiful things in the world. Like when I watch you do broadcast journalism, like when I watch you on air, I'm like, oh, Rachel was made for this. That's amazing.
Thank you so much for all that you said. That is just beautiful. And you're right. Like the connection that we've been able to build, the things that we've been able to build with this podcast, I'm truly, truly grateful for. And I'm grateful to know someone like you. I wish everyone could know you. You're just the best person who could be a friend, could be a mentor, a boss for. You've just changed who I am. And to be able to see, you know, me being literally like 19 when I met you to 21 now and, you know, going off and pursuing a big girl job is just like, you know, you're going to definitely be always on my mind and someone that I can look back to and, you know, ask about anything. I feel like I could literally talk to you about literally anything that's going on in my life. And I was going to talk on the topic of denial. I feel like I'm in denial leaving the podcast because we have just made it a partner thing. When you first were hiring me, you always told me, this is like my baby. Like, this is my creative baby. And you were passing your baby along to someone else. And so then it became my creative baby. And it's something that I always try to show someone. And now I get to pass that creative baby along to someone else, which is, like I said, when I left radio, like, it hurts, but it's an era. You come in eras and you leave your eras sometimes, and you find new eras, but there's always ways to reflect back on the great work that you've done.
Yeah. You've left a lasting mark on Unleash Your Inner Creative and, of course, on my heart. And we're going to be friends forever, and I'm always in your corner no matter what you do. You always can reach out to me and ask me anything you need with business, anything with any part of life. I really look at you like my little sister that I never had, You're part of the family.
Oh, I am. Like, Mike and Joanne, they love me and I love them. And I feel like I could go up to their house right now and ask for a full Italian dinner and they'd be like, yep. Joanne be off to the store and the whole spread would be ready in like 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. She'd probably order it from a local restaurant, honestly. She really just makes salmon.
I love her salmon, though.
She's so talented when it comes to salmon. Better than any restaurant you'll ever have. But yeah, no, you totally could. You're welcome anytime. And Rachel, even when my dad was in the hospital, like, you went and said a prayer for him and lit a candle for him at the Michigan State Catholic Church. Is it St. John's? Is that what it's called?
St. John's.
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to go there too.
But I also want to kind of touch on, like, the faith thing too. Lauren and I have been able to share our faith together. We're both Catholic and we both believe that God is a higher power and that, can see where we're about to go next. And that's also been a really big part of this relationship as well and what we do. We have the same values and ethics.
I think for anyone working on this show, they would have to have some semblance of spirituality because, like, otherwise they'd be rolling their eyes every episode when I'm like, and I think God loves me.
Exactly. No, it's true. And, having an open heart is so incredibly important as well. And, that all ties in together.
Yeah. Caring about self-development and, just people. I don't know. Yeah, it has been a pleasure, really.
We're just people persons, I guess.
Yeah.
And we just love to communicate.
People persons.
That's right. We just have big hearts. That's really the biggest thing.
It's really true. And I think that was the first thing I noticed about you when we got on that call. I still remember I was sitting at my desk right in front of me. And you just wore your heart on your sleeve. I'm like, wow. Like, one of my favorite qualities in a person is genuine enthusiasm. And you had that in spades. Like I always say, the things you can't teach people are how to be a good person, passion, and caring. And also, I would say, like, enthusiasm. It's kind of a quality you're born with or not. There's some people who, no matter what, even if they're excited about something, they will never be enthusiastic. And I just love about you that you have this genuine enthusiasm to you.
And I've had people ask me, like, how do you have that? Or where does your passion come from? And I always just say, like, I don't know. It's just in me. Like,
maybe she's born with it.
I think I am. Like, my parents had something in their genes that passed down very well because it just always has come natural. And everything I've ever done, all the way from literally like high school to now, I've always just had a big passion for and something. And I've always just wanted to take it to the extreme, basically. So yeah, it's just been something that I've been able to have and be blessed with. And to be able to have someone to say that is just really inspiring.
Well, I mean, you could see it from a mile away, maybe 3. Rache, is there anything else you want to leave the Unleash listeners with? Anything you want to say about your upcoming journey? Just hit me with whatever is on your mind.
Well, I'd just like to thank the viewers, honestly, for their continued support and their continuing to listen to what we produce. What we do every week, it's a lot of work, but it all pays off, and we do some great stuff like I've mentioned. We've really changed the world, and it comes down to the amount of people who actually show us that support, and I owe it all to them because we would not have a podcast if we didn't have the viewers. We make the content for people to listen to. So thank you for giving me that opportunity. And, going forward, this podcast is not going to die. The next person who comes on, they are just going to be as good as I was. And if anything, I hope they're better. And I just want to continue seeing it thrive and grow. And we've won Signals and we've won 2 Webbies, and I want to see even more than that. And I know it can happen.
Well, I'm just trying to get on your level. Maybe I can go for an Emmy next year.
You definitely can. Yes. Yes.
Okay, Rach, how can people support you in your next venture?
Of course, yeah. So I will be anchoring the WILX News 10 weekend broadcasts from 6 to 8 a.m., probably starting near the end of May. I'm thinking I just kind of want to lock in that because it's not for sure, but I'll say the end of May. And you can find us on WILX.com. You can find all of my web articles on there and all the video packages for our news content that I produce. And you can follow me on Instagram, Rachel M. Fulton. I'm also on Facebook, Rachel Fulton. Just hit me up if you have any questions and if you just want to chat, tell me your story. Like I said, I love hearing people's stories.
Oh yeah,
so
maybe Rachel will do a news report about you.
Yeah, if you're in Michigan or you've got some really cool things happening, I would love to get in contact. So yeah, please.
I might pitch you a story.
Yes. Any pitches too? Yeah. You can also email me, rachel.fulton@wilx.com for any story pitches or anything that relates to journalism that you may want to push towards our news station. We are Lansing's #1 news source, so you can trust us. We just won Station of the Year for the Michigan Association of Broadcasters, so we are #1 in the state of Michigan, which is so cool.
That's
it just
amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I'm like, get it. Well, Rach, I couldn't be prouder of you. I couldn't be more excited for you. And thank you for all the heart and soul you've poured into Unleash. This isn't the end. We might do a little bit of a wrap up month in May where you're helping me with a few solo episodes. But I just cannot thank you enough. You've really helped me take the show to the next level and been the best co-creator ever.
Oh, Lauren, thank you so much. I love you, and I'm always going to continue to support you in this podcast. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of it.
My honor. Love you, Rache. You want to say with me, I love you and believe in you to the peeps?
Yes, of course. Ready?
1, 2, 3. I love you.
I love you.
And I believe in you. Thank you, Creative Cutie, for tuning in. Go wish Rachel well. And Rach, I can't wait to see you on the moon. I'll be there.
I love it. Thank you.